the real world, a global community where like-minded individuals work toward achieving their personal goals. Every member receives advanced training and mentoring from our team of experienced industry specialists. Develop essential business skills with the help of our coaches through our online comprehensive education system. Join now. Real Prosperity Financial Freedom Formula. Discover how to become financially free so you don't have to depend on your business, a job, the government, a partner, or anyone else for money. Scan code for the Financial Freedom Formula. 4BK Forbidden Knowledge Shop. Forbidden Knowledge Tours and Workshops. Embark on a journey of discovery with Forbidden Knowledge Tours and Workshops, where history, science, and spirituality merge to unlock the secrets of the universe. Our immersive experiences take you beyond the mainstream narrative, exploring ancient civilizations, consciousness expansion, biohacking, UFO phenomena, and the art of manifestation. Esoteric Store, featuring new esoteric and biohack items. It's a movement, a portal to ancient wisdom, higher vibrations, and deep truths. Awakening minds and expanding consciousness. Scan code to shop now. AI Genius Club. Revolutionary suite of 24 AI-powered apps is designed to automate, optimize, and elevate your success. Whether you're crafting visuals, creating engaging funnels, or generating personalized content, our platform empowers you to excel with ease and precision. Scan code to create magic. Event Raptor, the #1 solution for automating your sales. Attract, nurture, and convert with your ultimate coaching client attraction system. Everything you need to grow your audience, your authority and influence, your sales. Scan to start your automation.
Hey guys, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Pain Point Podcast, where we bring online virtual solutions for your business. And today, got another great guest. But before that, I do implore you to go back to the sponsors or wait for the sponsors at the end of the show, because I know you're going to listen to it all the way through. Besides liking and subscribing, support the sponsors that support you. They support me, they support the guests, and they give me the ability to bring more podcasts and stages to you live, virtually, without having to pay for it. So you get a little freebie and you get a little nugget out of that. And one of today's sponsors is Event Raptor, and you can get listed as a speaker. What a great way to get seen and heard on people's podcasts. I use it all the time. It's a great place to list your summit or your webinar. Great event. It's great marketing. So check that out. All right. We're going to get to today's guest, because today I have the great Jackie Bailey here. There it goes. All right. So I got the great Jackie Bailey here, and she's going to bring the solution of speaker coaching here. When you're getting on virtual platforms and you're getting in front of the camera, you're getting on the mic, it's not always the fear or the fear of porn. It's the how and the who do you use as a coach. So today, welcome, Jackie. Welcome to the Pain Point Podcast.
Thank you, Nicole. It is delightful to be here. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Jackie and I have gone through some of the same stomping grounds and have met through different circles. And I'm so glad to get to the place where I can talk to her, because when you start to align and you're aligning with your avatar, you get to start to talk to great people, and those great people that are the expert, that are better than you, that you can learn a thing or two from. And I implore you to get your notebook out and start writing it down. So Jackie, would you tell our audience a little bit about you and how you got here?
I was silenced as a child through living in an abusive home. And it wasn't until I was compelled to save the life of another child that I had to speak up and talk about the abuse I was experiencing. I was an adult woman at that time. And when I spoke up for the first time to say what had actually happened to me, it was when I realized I actually have something very important to say, and it will actually save the life of someone when I say it. And from that point on, after I went through therapy, of course, and a lifetime of finding out who I really was and improving the way I could speak and communicate things, I naturally became a speaker. And my mission now in speaking is to help other people recognize that staying silent does not add to who they are. It actually distracts and undermines who they are. And I work a lot with kids. My my mantra is that any child within my influence will never be silenced again. So that's why I speak mostly.
I love that because you're not just helping one person, you're helping millions by sharing that message. And here's also where we align in that same mindset and frame. As the chairwoman of Confronting Domestic Violence, I have started to work with other people and board members to say, hey, let's do this for a cause marketing thing, which brings notoriety, at least for my summits. And I teach clients how to utilize this. When you use for a cause marketing, a portion of the proceeds from the speakers or the very VIP packages goes to donate for the nonprofit. And you can do this as a host on your own stage. You can use the nonprofit, you can help puppies and kittens, or you can even, if it aligns with you and this is your thing, you can work to get some of those proceeds from the profit can go to buying a Birkin bag, whatever the is for you. But it's to really flip the script on what we're doing. But I love that you do this because in order to have a voice and have your worth, we need to open up our throat chakra.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
absolutely. And to give people a platform where they can make money. Because if you want to stay safe, even into virtual reality, we hosted a summit in virtual reality on the spatial platform. It gave speakers the ability to either show their face if they were ready. If they couldn't show their face and they didn't feel quite safe yet, they still were able to use their voice. And
Mm.
we show them how to make some money and have some financial freedom so they can continue to grow and heal and help further the community. It's that I can give you a fish or I can teach you how to fish in the community. How do we establish these days? Because you can get online for free. I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And you not only teach adults, you teach children, which is it's a bit of a different beast with that. A lot of
There's
patience.
some differences, but there's similarities too, especially when it comes to bad experiences you've had communicating or speaking in front of groups. And that can really make you frightened to do it again as an adult. But that makes us childlike. When we're afraid to stand up and speak, it's that the inner child of ours that we're protecting. So I work with kids to help them speak up. But in the same vein, there's lots of adults who are afraid to speak up and they just need someone who validates I do have a message that can inspire. I do have a message that could help someone to avoid the same mistakes or pains that I've had to experience. And once you recognize that, when you recognize the way you can contribute to the planet through your voice, it changes everything for kids and adults.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for both. And how much more empowered now with people having trauma. We see that so much today that people are upset or there's a pain somewhere that has triggered them, unfortunately, and they haven't healed. And we're meant to be passionate beings, happy, sad, even angry, but we need to learn to express that. What a better way to start to align with not just your audience, but maybe friends and family when you learned how to connect and communicate in a loving way that you can speak to someone because it's different. We did a training of verbal judo in law enforcement, and we worked with that also in security. And verbal judo gives you the ability to connect with people because they're heightened. And when people are in fear in a tragic moment or it bubbles up, all of a sudden they forgot about it, but they get on stage and all of a sudden this fear or this stress almost makes you feel a little bit unhinged, maybe on the stage. Then how do you talk to people to bring them down? And I love that's what you do. You're sharing this space. It's a safe space, a comfortable space, but you're bringing people on the stage to really transform their thoughts and to focus and bring in a message. And I think having heard you talk, I think this is very important. It's an articulate, thoughtful, focused message with possibly some kind of call to action, whether that's to go to someone's site or to do something wonderful for your neighborhood, whatever that call to action is. When you're sharing this with people, do they feel a little bit more purposeful and maybe a little more engaged with the audience when they have the ability to talk to the people in front of them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, conversations is where it all starts because the best speakers I've seen on stages are those who have a conversational tone. And most people in the audience are going to be more likely, I would say, to be inspired by what you have to say if you're not lecturing them. And in fact, I just recently created in partnership with Allison Miller, who she is a executive director of summer camps for kids. We've created this deck of cards that are called the Speak-a-Boom Camp Chat cards. And this is for counselors at camps this summer that work with kids to have 5 days of methodologies, including exercises and conversations and games to play with the kids. By the end of camp, they're going to be better conversationalists. And that's the start to being a good speaker. So, building relationships of trust and rapport and camaraderie and friendship with people through conversation is the same skills that you need to sell something on stage or to have rapport with your audience or connect with them in some regard. I'm called the international conversation coach because that's where it all starts with. And as I mentioned, my healing journey began when I had a conversation and said, "This is what's happening to me. I need help." So it's all conversation.
It truly is. And it's very important to be able to talk to people. And I had a bizarre upbringing. It wasn't abuse, but my bizarre upbringing, I have my parents had mental issues. So my mom had multi personality disorder. So you can imagine someone coming home with different hairstyles, different cars, a different boyfriend, different clothing, different tonality. She walked and moved differently. It was it's very bizarre now, but I use that as having an identity crisis. So if you're abused in a certain way, or maybe I shouldn't have been in that home, it wasn't necessarily the best. But connection and conversation were so foreign to me, especially going into maybe law enforcement or security, to come into a place where I have to network and talk to people. And and I see this with my clients in the relatability point of connection and conversation. And so I can talk to abused people or I can talk to traumatized people, but to talk to normal people, and it sounds so simple. It's really not if you don't engage when you're growing up. Talking to audiences, there's has to be, you have to turn on. You have to be there when the camera's on or be there when you step on the stage. The audience wants to engage with you. And that's the point, that you're making the change and the transformation. And when you have that charisma, you can draw people in. And there's the vibe and there's energy. There's so much more than uh, that goes into this. And it's so large. And this is where I've seen the change to go on stage. How do I engage with people? How do I talk to people? And now interviewing and getting to have a conversation and go, oh, okay, my logical brain kicks in and I can listen to people throughout the conversation, tune into more of their body language or their tonality or their experience. And I think it's such a gift that certain people have. It's got to be a bit of empathy, a bit of intuition, and a whole lot of experience to be engaging to come on the camera, not just brushing your hair or maybe putting the right color on. It's really are you hearing and listening to the connection that's coming in? And it's very important. And I think obviously that experience that you had growing up has a lot to do with it because you're able to be the person to say, hey, yes, I can hear you. This is what you're saying. And is there a long conversation of assessment to say, okay, what would you like your message to be? What's the journey like that for someone?
Absolutely. It starts with conversation in helping a client to decide What is it that is most important for you to tell the world? What is unique about you that is going to inspire them? And so that includes being really vulnerable. It's not just a matter then of making rapport with the audience. It's being willing to share your mistakes and your failures and say, this was me. This is the raw me. And I'm human like you are, because that connects you human being to human being to say, yeah, she's not perfect. Because it's easy to get up on stage and boast about all of the triumphs that you've had. But when you could be vulnerable and say, hey, that triumph didn't come. I didn't summit Mount Everest until I had tried 14 times. That's what inspires people is the vulnerability. And so that's a big part of your message too. And so when I put on these retreats for people who are interested in getting their signature talk really crafted, molded, practiced, recorded in front of an audience, and having all the ability then to start applying for speaking gigs so that you can monetize your message at the same time. So they come to these retreats, and I have this unique way of pulling information out of people, experiences they've had that can then become those stories of triumph, but also the stories of vulnerability and failure that they've had that's going to connect with an audience. And then they can then start to use those experiences as stories to teach the lessons they've learned to be inspiring at the same time. And I work with kids. I've actually helped a 9-year-old girl to get on a TEDx stage to give her TEDx speech. And so it's the principles that apply to everyone, no matter how old or young you are, or how experienced you are or inexperienced as a speaker. You have a unique story. And it helps to have a coach that can recognize that from an objective viewpoint and say, let's use this. And sometimes speakers go, really? Is that enough? And yeah, it's enough. In fact, here's a cute little story. I was doing a podcast years ago for my nonprofit, and it was about speaking and feeding others through words and kindness and that kind of thing as far as leadership. And I was interviewing my 9-year-old grandson. He's 16 now, but he was 9 at the time. And I asked him, Sam, if the whole world came into your living room one day and said, Sam, tell us the most important thing you have. What do you know? What would you say, Sam? And this sweet little guy that he was and still is, he said, Grandma, first of all, I'd tell them to get out of my living room. And then he said, and then I would tell them to get off the video games and start spending time with their family.
Oh, that's awesome.
And at 9 years old, that was a powerful message. Is it needed in the world? Yes. Can a 9-year-old boy actually inspire people? Yeah. So that's my message is you have something to say that a unique experience has taught you. And that's why you need a coach, is someone that can help pull that out of you, because we often don't think our own stories are that inspiring. And then you've got it. And you can start speaking that message as your signature talk, the one that only you can give.
That's so important because people want to talk about things and stuff. And I had this conversation this morning with a few people in a group is that missing like the biography channel where where people were talking or stars or would be on there and they would really talk about the hustle and grind of where they came from and then how they got there. And that there's the vulnerability, there's the triumph, the tribulation. Van Gogh, of course, it had everything to do with his paintings, but there was drama and trauma, but it wasn't continued. There was a beauty and a finished product at the end. And people want to see the succession, the happy ever after, but they want to feel that with you through that. And the less is more. There's a few coaches out there that want you to, they don't streamline that. And it's so important. And it's a healthier conversation. People want to listen to you more and more, and it becomes more inspiring than the copy and paste that everybody's, I'm Tony Robbins, and then they copy and paste someone else's speech and it's going over and over again. And it hit the first person that did it, but the 12th person generation down, it's like obviously never had that experience. Right. People can tell. They can read that. There's no way you understand what it's like to struggle and fight, to live on the street, or to have a chaos in an area where you have to stop people from violence even outside your home, people you don't know. That's a whole different dynamic. And people want to Monday morning armchair quarterback every situation. So this is a beautiful blueprint that you're sharing it. And wow, a 9-year-old right out of a child's mouth. Hey,
Yes.
get out of the house. We need some peace.
Yeah.
We need some harmony. We need some love and loving the family. And it just comes back to the connection and the importance of what he said. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. And to get that message, the clarity, the continuity. And people can understand there's no longer a confused mind when you're watching someone speak. Oh, I know where they're going. I know I want some of them. I know I want to buy their product. I know I want to meet with them. I know I want to be consulted with them. That makes the call to action much easier. Whether it's to donate to the nonprofit or to buy someone's coaching program to say, hey, you can follow along and you're in this journey and you're in this struggle and you're in this relatability. And then there's just beautiful finish up. It's just a beautiful, beautiful play or beautiful dramatization and what a great journey. And you go into places like Costa Rica and you do a retreat. So when you're training people and they can reach you online, they can find you virtually, which is so great, but it doesn't negate the live touch. And it's so different to speak in person. And when people are there in a retreat, is it more of a magical enclosed experience with a great group of people where you have support and you can maybe touch or hug people and say hello?
Oh, yeah. So when you go to apply to speak, whether it's at an in-person event or a virtual event, you have to have this library of assets ready because it's basically a copy and paste. There are digital forms. It used to be that you had to have this one sheet that talked about all your titles and what your subject matter was, that kind of thing. No one does that anymore, right? Everything is online. It's through a jot form or something like that that you apply to speak. But that means that you have to have links to provide for them of recorded talks that you've given, places when you've been on podcasts and things like that. You have to have all that ready. And that comes when you've been in person at a retreat, such as the ones that I put on, where you get the recordings of your speeches, where you get the audience's reaction to that, where you can understand how your stories have now become inspirational messages for other people to hear. So the in-person with a coach is helpful to craft everything you need to do the digital application process. And many times now you're speaking on a virtual stage as well. So all of that is there to prepare you and help you be ready so you can apply quickly. Like I said, it's a copy and paste situation. So all of that takes place. But there's also something about being out of your normal comfort zone and your home, the town you live in, away from your typical people, to go to some place like Costa Rica, which is absolutely gorgeous, and just focus on you. Focus on that message. Focus on the purpose that you have in being there. When we do our retreats, we do them two different places. One is in a villa. It's a very private villa about 15 miles off of the main beaten path up in the jungle next to a waterfall, lots of waterfalls to walk to and that kind of thing, where you basically get to enjoy nature and monkeys show up every day and toucans are everywhere. But you get to just really enjoy, this is my time to focus on me and my story and how to write that. The other place that we go to is actually an eco lodge where there's adventure attached to it because you have to actually river raft in to get to your location for your 5-day retreat. And then you go zip lining and you do hiking and things like that. Aside from the work that you're doing for that particular retreat, though, you're actually becoming certified to teach our public speaking courses for kids. So there is a little bit of adventure in there as you're learning to become certified and all the processes. It's like a business in the box kind of a thing. If you want to teach kids. So if you are a speaker or an entrepreneur and you've got something that you want to leave a legacy with, help kids learn to speak. So we do that as well. We have a certification course. But being out of your normal comfort zone and getting away from the schedules of life and some of the digital devices that we have with us all the time, that helps you really focus on that next step that you're taking toward your own business.
And that's great because you're reframing the mind and you're giving a disruption to the normal pattern. And the other thing is you're not stuck in traffic, you're not running through, you're not overbooking your calls, you're not stressing yourself out unnecessarily, and you can really concentrate on what's important at that moment. And when you break it up, the exercise and the movement in between that really impacts that perishable skill to start moving, taking action, physically imprinting it into your body, your mind, and your soul. And being able to practice, being able to be with other people and have the inspiration. You're having a mentorship. And a lot of some of what we have lost is not having that mentorship, having someone train you constantly when in law enforcement and security. And this is where I started into the coaching or the consulting to say, hey, we had someone with us. We had a field training officer, which was with us side by side to watch us so we could mimic their steps and their motions, the way they stood, the way they talked, how expressive they are, or when to hold back on expression to make it about the person in front of you when that was most necessary to be there to be comfort and to provide someone a safe moment to say, okay, I'm safe, I'm all right. And that's in a sense what you're doing is to share with people that safe space to be seen and heard, to getting on the stage, to sharing their story, and to say as a group with that dynamic, and that you're going to go
Mhm.
home, you're going to be excited about it. And you can redo this. You can now take that strategy, that structure, and the course that you taught. Now they can teach that. It's very important to have those people there with you. You're having basically you're in an apprenticeship. You know, you're the Harry Potter. He's not going to learn all this magic himself. He went to school, he went to college, he had a group of friends. They played around, they got in trouble, they did silly stuff, and then they learn from their actions. This gives us the ability to fail forward, and it's so very important to have that someone that's going to be there tomorrow. They're not going to run away. You're going to be here. It is very important with that integrity to know that someone, you know, that they can pick up the phone or send an email and there's a way to get a hold of Jackie. And then especially when you're talking about children or people that have, in a sense, been some type of victimized and getting through the survivor part of it, and that's the upset in the emotion when we're clearing that out. But now that trauma, there's more post traumatic growth in the sunshine of the mentorship. And that's not just changing the one person, you're changing millions. And when the children have that ability to come in and articulate their thoughts or their emotions, they're being able to talk to people. Beyond it, you can have a news interview or you can go to a group of people and now your thoughts, your opinions, or the nonprofit you want to share with someone, people will hear you.
Mhm.
And how does that change when you see people and there's this evolution to speaking, to seeing that at the end of that, that there's an evolution of the change that you're bringing, such a transformation and allowing them to fail through that and seeing back of this instead of saying, hey, everything's great and wonderful.
That's a great question, Nicole. And it brings me back to what you said a moment ago about your mom having multiple personalities and growing up with that, because our retreats are a little bit like therapy, group therapy, because you're learning so much about yourself, but you're also learning about others and you're seeing, as you say, you're seeing their transformation take place. Well, I was in my therapy of healing from my childhood abuse. I was in a group of women. There were 15 of us, and one of them had multiple personalities. And she had 5 children and had not even discovered her multiple personalities until she began to see a therapist. think she was probably 2 or 3 years in by the time I met her in this group. And there was a point, I think her name was Carol, and I believe she had 32 different personalities. And so I can totally relate to your mom showing up differently and not knowing who is it today, right? Because a lot of Carol's personalities were nonverbal infants. And some of them were big bouncer kind of guys that were just scary and very aggressive. But the most blessed part of being in that therapy session is when Carol was strong enough to integrate these personalities into her core self. We were allowed to be there when she went into under hypnosis. And she would talk to us about how she integrated each of those personalities into her core self. And the process she went through was truly moving. She was required, or the therapist walked her through how to envision each of these people that had been living inside of her mind for years, envision them, describe them, and then hug them in her mind's eye and tell them, thank you. Thank you for helping me to cope with this. Thank you for the role that you played in making me who I am today. And I no longer need you. I got this from here on out. And when she was able to do that and work through the process, that personality became part of who she really was. And she didn't become that personality. Now, it took several sessions for 32 different people, but that's a process that each of us really should go through in our own way, is see those parts of us that maybe we haven't known too well, but they've benefited somehow to who we are today. They've played a role in helping us to heal. And in our mind's eye, hug them, feel gratitude for the way that they've helped us to evolve into where we are so that we can fulfill the mission that we want to fill today. And then say, I got this going forward. I don't need that emotion anymore, or I don't need that part of my personality anymore. I can do this in a better way on my own. So thanks, but I don't need you. That was such an important teaching lesson for me. And so when we are helping people to discover their signature talk, it's a little bit like that. You look back at your life experiences and maybe you don't realize how much that moment was a pivotal point in your evolution to be where you are today. And when someone can point that out to you, that's real, that's raw, and that helps you to understand who you truly are and why you are and what do you need to do with it, right? So it is a little bit like therapy, and people have told me that before. So it's all good.
I bet it sounds like that, because when we grow up, when you got a 13, 14-year-old girl going through a huge hormonal change, and today I like pants, and tomorrow I want to wear shorts, the next day I want to wear skirts, and maybe makeup, maybe not makeup, maybe friends, what you like, who you like, what TV show you like, school, good, bad, crying sessions, whatever. And there's this drama and stage and this theatrics that goes on, but you're trying to evolve and bring all of this together. And you're integrating these and you're transforming these personalities. And that's what's so great with that, is to say, hey, you can be this, or it's like watching the old movie Fight Club, where it was him. It's Ed Norton and Brad. We all have good and bad. Who do you
Right.
see yourself as? And sometimes that can help and sometimes it can hinder, but to be able to bring that full circle, to say, hey, which one of these can I share on stage? We wear different hats in business or home life at times. What's the best to bring on the stage? And it's important to say, hey, this is the good character on the stage. This is the maybe not so good character. Maybe you don't want to share this on the stage, or maybe it's a little TMI. We don't all need to hear that. That doesn't really make the story. And I've heard some stories, I've seen some things, let me tell you, but you don't always have to share. It's not
Right.
necessary for the conversation. So when you're having real talk and you're saying, hey, yes, this is so much of a therapy session, but at that point, and I think this is important for people to understand behind the scenes, it takes a lot of prep, a lot of strategy, a lot of getting into the ritual and the habit of the day and practicing your speech. And if you're going to use slides or not use slides, whatever, however, what tools you're using, or you got to do it live or virtual. When you're doing this, where do you come in to say, hey, this is the best practice here moving forward. This is the best thing to do. Maybe not using this would better serve you and your audience in that way. What's that kind of conversation to say, yeah, we can move forward, or let's just go ahead and ditch that? Because I think as a coach or consultant, people have to be able to have those strengths as a leader to truly lead and mentor people.
Yeah, and that's why you create a library. You create a library of your stories and your experiences because you can't put them all in one speech. But depending upon who your audience is and what they need to learn from you, how you can inspire that particular audience, whether it's a corporate audience, whether it's children, whether it's women, whether it's men in prison, who knows, right? It depends on who you're talking to. And then you pull out those experiences of yours that are going to be most meaningful to what inspirational or motivational message you want to provide to that particular audience. And sometimes even the same story is tweaked with a different accent, if you will, on what part of that lesson is important to this crowd. Maybe giving that same story to a different audience, it would be this part of the story to teach the lesson to that crowd. So that is also what a coach is there to help you to do, is to determine what's best to serve this audience, and then what best of you can we use to do that. And speeches are always changing, stories are evolving, and the way that you present them will also evolve, because the more you give those stories, then you're going to be able to see what kind of reaction do I get from audiences? Do they laugh during this part, or do I physically hear them going, oh, or whatever? And so then you learn if you're looking for a particular reaction, then you know what story to provide to get that too. Because I'm a big proponent of emotionally giving your audience an experience with you. It's not just a matter of sharing stories, it's not just a matter of giving a lesson. It's how many emotions can you help them to feel? How can you let them leave having heard you or been with you for a few minutes feeling good or feeling angry about something? It just depends. If you're fighting something like a social justice warrior that you want to have changed, maybe you want to leave your audience angry, ready to get on board with you and help make that change too. But often you want people to feel motivated to do something, to feel something, or know something different than they did before they heard you. So it really just depends. And that's why a coach is helpful too, because they can help you to decide what part of your experiences will you share with that audience on that day, especially when you can be applying to so many different events. So many people are looking for speakers, right? They have their mission statements and they have their purpose. And so, how can your message coincide with theirs? And that's really important to do too when you're applying for speeches, is how can my message translate to the people that are going to be in their audience that day? So it's really important to know that.
And that's important because you're not going to go to corporate America like a toilet plunger and plunge that they have to hear your message. You're not going to force it down their pipes and say, you got to hear me. And if you say it in a way or something that aligns with them, go to that group. There's plenty of groups out there that will listen or want your message. And I like that. That's important to motivate your audience. You're not just going to motivate them to have a nice day, to be kind, but how are you motivating them? And that's the full core of even your website, and that will be shared below. Is you're sharing a different type of motivation. You can motivate someone to donate to your cause, or motivate someone to bring their children in so they can learn to speak or get on the stage or show their worth. And you're motivating people in different types of action. Maybe motivate them to go to Costa Rica with you and become someone that teaches your training. There's different forms of motivation, and the movement in the motivation is, I think, it would be more crucial than to just do you feel good from this. And we all want maybe puppies and kittens sometimes, but a motivation to take action in a way that you're fueling someone to go to a nonprofit and donate now. But
Yes.
hit a donate now button. And we do that with our webinars and our groups, and we bring one-to-one summits in for post-traumatic growth, but teaching domestic violence victims or just community. Hey, if you have financial freedom, you can carry on and support your kids through generation, and you can have your house and you can pay your bills and get away from that bad cycle of life and move forward and have a business. And with that financial freedom, you can support the cause without begging for sponsors. Because if I had these sponsors, I grew up in Silicon Valley. If I knew these billionaires, I'd be on a yacht somewhere. I wouldn't be here on a stage here helping people. I'd probably be sipping Mai Tai somewhere. And then I can donate. But not knowing people drove the for a cause marketing to say, hey, how do you motivate someone to click that button? Or motivate people by being on a stage. They pay to play. A portion of the proceeds goes to donating to the cause. And it's just a different thought. And I love what you do because now you're creating generational speakers and you're creating communicators and you're getting people motivated. And just to share this, to get people to say, hey, here's where you align. And how do people, when they come back and they have their first talk with you, or maybe their first successful talk, let's say, and they're working with you, and they motivate people to take action, have some type of call to action. And is their business better because they're able to deliver a better message?
Oh, absolutely. Business is really personal because you have to be able to put your personal story out there in business. Now, when I'm working with people to discover their signature talk, some people say, I'm a CPA, so I just talk about taxes. All right. That's okay. But that may
Right.
not be what motivates people because maybe they're there to just hear a lecture and get information from you. And that might help your business. You could probably get some clients that way, right? But is that really your mission? Is what
I
you
hope it's
know,
not.
is what you know really your mission? Is there something bigger that you could be doing other than just sharing knowledge? And so that's another part of helping people understand when you're in business, you need to share your why. Why are you in this business? Why is this so important to you? Why should I buy from you instead of the other CPAs, 10 of them down the street from me? They're more likely, customers are more likely to trust someone who they feel connected to, and they're only going to feel connected to you with a story that they can emotionally relate to. It will probably be different circumstances and different characters within the story. But when an emotion is shared and when you can understand why someone might be doing what they're doing because it connects to what you would like to do, that's you're more likely to gain more customers that way than just, hey, come to me because I can help you with your taxes. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's a different way to elevate what you're doing in your business is to get out there and speak about why and what you're doing. So it's
Well,
another part of it.
yeah, that's so important. And think that's important to pull out with your business because, like 'em or hate 'em, Elon Musk is able to get the sale. And how is he able to get the sale? Because he's able to talk to people. And if you're like me and you grew up in Silicon Valley in the 80s when Pong came out, and you had to translate a tech guy's, a coder's information and learn to program on MS-DOS and have the 7-foot fax machine where the phone, hello, you actually had to dial, folks. You had to dial the fax. Now we don't fax anymore. We just send. But you have to be able to speak to the people that are going to throw the money on the table. And you have to be able to sell your product. Nobody's buying your product, they're buying you. What's in it for them? What do they want? How do they connect with you? And it's so important to say somebody's got to ask for that money to donate. Somebody's got to ask for if you want donations of shoes for kids in South Africa, you have somebody has to ask, "Oh, I just want shoes for South Africa." And maybe like you said earlier, you motivate them with that anger to take action. But you have to get people to take action. And that's the point of the story. And when you're speaking and you're selling, because you're always selling you. And it's very important how you're showing up. You're not showing up in your Walmart best, first of the month, pajamas and footwear, like you just woke up, you're rubbing the sleep out of your eyes to talk on someone's podcast. And it's okay to go somewhere and say, hey, maybe I need a minute, or hey, if you need a little bit of help, hey, can I show up a little 5 minutes early? Would you help me? Book some extra time for your guest and let them forgive
Yeah.
tech issues or little simple issues. People travel. I talk to a lot of people that travel, and I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jelly, but now I get to do that because I'm establishing a laptop business. So all these wonderful things that happen once you start to understand how it works behind the curtains, that it's not just the great Oz pulling the string, and there's not a whole bunch of maybe not a whole bunch of Lilliputians up there dancing around singing. That comes later in the play maybe, but when you're bringing all this, there's something behind the scenes that's so wonderful. How the show is run, and being able to talk to your audience and being able to pitch or get on the stage, bring people a call to action, sell your goods and wares is very important when you're talking and acknowledging your audience wherever your audience is at, live, in person, or on the virtual stage, or even somewhere this podcast where you can reach people and it's so easy to just turn it on. I mean, you can always leave if it doesn't work for you, but tune in and really get in there. Things are so much easier. And that's where this podcast first was the simplicity of the tools, the tech that we have to bring us together and to connect and to hear each other's stories. Thank you so much, Jackie. I really appreciate it. But I'm going to leave some last words for you. All your information is going to be below. People will be able to click all your wonderful links and see every wonderful thing that you're doing. Any last words or takeaways?
If I had a last word to give to your audience, Nicole, and I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for giving me a voice. That's you're helping me to unsilence a little bit more every time I'm given an opportunity to be on a stage like this. So thank you. And I think that's where my message would go is you need to be heard. And I'm talking to the 99-year-old man or woman, and as well as I'm talking to the 9-year-old boy or girl. You need to be heard. And you have something that is very inspiring. Like I said, speaking up, I actually saved the life of a little girl who was about to be abused. And it changed her life. It changed the life of the abuser and it healed me. And words are your superpower. You've got something the world needs to hear, and you've got to find the confidence and the courage to speak up. And if you can't do it on your own, a coach can help you to pull out those things that an audience would be inspired to hear and discover who that audience would be and then start speaking it. And there is nothing more empowering to know that people are either buying tickets to see you speak, or they're buying a product that you're talking about, or they are, as you say, Nicole, they're contributing to a cause that is important to you because it's going to leave a legacy for people coming behind us. It's important to get your voice out. So start sharing it. If you can do it without a coach, do it. If you need a coach, get a coach because you need to be heard.
Absolutely. And what a better way to get seen and get heard is to get on the stage, contact Jackie, go to the retreat. What amazing ways to change and do good and not just talk about it. So thank you so much, Jackie. Get seen and heard with Jackie and empower your voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I'll see you on the other side. And thank you so much. Watch for those sponsors. Check those out and support the show that supports you. Thank you so much.
The Real World, a global community where like-minded individuals work toward achieving their personal goals. Every member receives advanced training and mentoring from our team of experienced industry specialists. Develop essential business skills with the help of our coaches through our online comprehensive education system. Join now. Real Prosperity Financial Freedom Formula. Discover how to become financially free so you don't have to depend on your business, a job, the government, a partner, or anyone else for money. Scan code for the Financial Freedom Formula. 4BK Forbidden Knowledge Shop. Forbidden Knowledge Tours and Workshops. Embark on a journey of discovery with Forbidden Knowledge Tours and Workshops, where history, science, and spirituality merge to unlock the secrets of the universe. Our immersive experiences take you beyond the mainstream narrative, exploring ancient civilizations, consciousness expansion, biohacking, UFO phenomena, and the art of manifestation. Esoteric Store, featuring new esoteric and biohack items. It's a movement, a portal to ancient wisdom, higher vibrations, and deep truths. Awakening minds and expanding consciousness. Scan code to shop now. AI Genius Club. Revolutionary suite of 24 AI-powered apps is designed to automate, optimize, and elevate your success. Whether you're crafting visuals, creating engaging funnels, or generating personalized content, our platform empowers you to excel with ease and precision. Scan code to create magic. Event Raptor, the #1 solution for automating your sales. Attract, nurture, and convert with your ultimate coaching client attraction system. Everything you need to grow your audience, your authority and influence, your sales. Scan to start your automation.